and this is another podcast. I had decided that I wasn't going to do any other podcast because looking at the views for the podcast, I was saying that you know it's like 35% what I want it to be. Nevertheless, I decided that I had to touch this one in discussion. We teachers compensation and government restructuring of the government's of the public sector salaries and wages. All right, so in 2022 December, an average of probably about 80% of the public sector workers in Jamaica received some form of should I say restructured salary package. And when I say restructured and renewed, or should I say improved, I mean like persons who were earning like $40 a month now start to get $80 a month. And this is like the you have three-tier system at the public sector work space, or within any workspace. You have managers, supervisor, and you have those persons that are laborers, administrative assistant, production assistants, those production workers, those persons at the bottom of the end of the scale. Now, as far as the restructuring is concerned, the persons within the lower bands of the public sector employment space, they are the one that actually got a good deal in comparison to management and supervisors. Now, management and supervisors, or should I say middle management, they are looking at practically what me see it, is that they might get punished for actually be rich by them there. Alright, let me speak standard English. Practically, the middle managers and will not be seeing that amount of increase in their salary band. And in addition to that, several allowances which actually would help to increase the amount of money is taken home at the end of each month will no longer be there. For example, those persons at the upper end of management, that's in the government sector, they will no longer have housekeeping allowances. There will be no more entertainment allowances. There will be no more transport allowances. All these allowances, yeah, you might say that these are things that is not really needed because you are working for the public sector. But what is it that actually drives persons within the private sector to actually go into the public sector to work, knowing that in the private sector all these benefits are there, and the salary structure within the private sector is much more than, when I say much more, I mean you get more monies in the private sector when you work at the same position, right? So why would I want to leave the private sector and work within the public sector, knowing that I will no longer be receiving some of these said allowances? All right, so let's fast forward to the teachers now. Now, the teachers were offered a compensation package which sees those persons, trained graduates, receiving an average of probably about 3.2 million for the year. Right, that is not a lot, people. Trust me, because when you minus the 30% tax, you don't get that much, right? And when you factor in inflation, the money further decreases. So just bear with me a little bit. So you're looking at roughly about nearly 220 at the end of each month, and that's trained graduates, right? And so everybody would actually start at the same. Now they wanted to, in one of my posts before, I share with you that they wanted to stop or cancel or no longer pay the allowances to persons, we what you call it, remote location allowance, or for those persons working in spaces that are referred to as volatile, they will no longer get that money. For example, if you teach at, let's say, St. Albans, St. Annis, Demon Town, Tivoli, if you teach in the rocky terrains of Lawrence Tavern, these places, you get a special allowance, and it depends on your qualification. You might get between $9,000 and $13,000 extra on your salary. So they never wanted to actually pay that amount of money, right? Okay, cool. The NHT, along with the negotiation, NHT, the the JTA, yeah, guys, yeah, I'm kind of sleeping here. NHT, and that is another trip. The JTA, along with the negotiating team, they put it forcefully to the finance ministry that this allowance cannot be excluded from the new structure, and it was included. However, there are other allowance that practically every teacher receive, is that what we call book stationery and technology, which is what we call BST, right? So it's an average of about probably about 14,006, 14,005, somewhere there about, that every teacher gets right there, right? Now the Ministry of Finance have actually decided that they will no longer be paying this, and that they won't even be fusing it into the normal salary. They'll just no longer be paying this, right? So that's 14,000 something taken off your salary. And for those teachers like principal, vice principal, middle management within schools, right, there would be no separation of salary as it is on the bond, right? What you will actually get is like some percentage above the normal teachers that would be there. So it is not really static, right? Bearing in mind, in 2025, 2026, right, an appraisal system will be used to determine the amount of monies you actually receive for your, for your salary during the ensuing year, academic year. And so therefore, if your appraisal says satisfactory, unsatisfactory, excellent, that will determine how much is actually increased on your salary. That's the projective pathway in which the government is going on. However, for the next what they call it, next 3 years, including 2022, 2023, and 2024, the main thrust is to actually start the new restructuring system so as to facilitate this going forward, 2025 to 2026. All right. Okay, no quarrels about that. They have actually revamped the whole idea of having what you call it now, the different increments for the different teachers at their different grades, right? Now they, according to the Ministry of Finance, they say that they are trying to stick within a 16 band for all public sector workers. They had 300 and something, and they want to restructure it to 16. In restructuring it, the diploma, persons with diploma and certificate is no longer on the system. I guess the bursars have been informed as to how to manage these individuals, and these persons with the diploma and certificate was a means of certification in the 1980s, in which you would actually go to the university and spend some amount of time, you receive a certificate, and you could actually teach. They upgraded that from a certificate to what you call a diploma, right, in the late 1980s and 1990s. Now, in the 2000, there was a thrust for every teacher to receive, well, to study, to be, yeah, to study, and to receive a bachelor's degree, right? So in the early 2000, there was a lot of programs that actually incentivize teachers going, returning to teachers college or university to actually improve their level of qualification from a diploma to a degree. Some persons did not, because practically it was just, um, to them it was, it's like they couldn't afford it financially too, and they, according to them, some teachers in whom I spoke to, they just don't see themselves pushing forward in going up, because them brain can't manage it, simple put. All right. And then you have some teachers whom actually push further beyond the degree, and they will actually get their masters. Now, for those persons who have their masters degree, right, you would have received a special allowance of roughly nearly about $99,000, right? After tax, you get probably about less than six, about 5,000 something, right? So even that allowance will actually be negated within the new restructured system, right? According to the Ministry of Finance, uh, an incremental bond will be established for persons having masters and PhD, going forward from 2024 onward. That means from 2022, 2023, there is no incentivization as to those individuals whom have actually attained their master's degree. I don't know how they're going to record that one. I have not gone or delve in. By the way, I'm not a delegate. I'm just a person who's seeking, you know, transparency as far as salary negotiation is concerned, as far as teachers are concerned, right? So they a lot of the allowances, for example, if you're a senior teacher, right, you would have gotten about two additional allowance, separate and apart from the BST and probably the location, and probably if you have a master's degree, that allowance. And I think there's another allowance that you actually receive. When you practically calculate all the allowances, they actually, if you usually get $10 for your basic salary, your allowances are roughly about $9. So you can see where in which your allowances makes up roughly 50%, or near 50% of your salary, right? Yeah, I know. Whenever you do retire, if you retire using this structure, you will only receive a pension for the $10 and not for the $19 that you have been receiving over the past 20, 30, 40 years. All right, that is how the system is set. I understand the whole restructuring would, what it would do is to allow for persons who are going to be going on retirement to receive additional sums for pension, right? Because a teacher teaching for 35 years, right? A teacher teaching for 35 years retires and receiving $35,000 at the end of each month for pension. This is crazy. Whereas the teacher normally would receive roughly around about probably about 200 and call it 230, right? So now the teacher receive 235 a month. The light bill is still there, the water bill is still there, the internet is still there, plus medication, because the older you get, the more medication you need. So the thrust to actually restructure the salary is practically prudent in this time and age, um, but a lot of factors are not considered as far as the restructuring is concerned. Um, it is being hinted at that we do not, the BST will be in our main salary. Funny enough, when Jamaica actually shut down its educational system, face to face wise, right? in 2020, March 13, um, teachers were at home and teachers were expected to, you know, use the online platform, whatever online platform it was, to actually facilitate teaching and learning, right? Teachers have actually been lobbying the government for devices, laptop. At first, the basic school got, and then the primary school got, and then we heard that secondary schools were to get, but how they would do it, they would only give like 90% or 80%, some percentage of teachers within the secondary schools laptop, and the principal would be at liberty as to select whom receive and whom don't, right? This was actually rejected by stakeholders, and the government reverted and actually allowed everyone to actually, well, everyone in the secondary school to actually have the opportunity to receive uh, a laptop once they have been teaching for the past 2 years and they are permanently employed, right? And some little fine prints are there, such as, I'm coming back to the topic, but I'm just trying to show you the trajectory as to where we are at. So the logics of it is that the laptop is not necessarily that of the teacher, but it's a tool for the teacher to actually use, right? So if the teacher decides to leave the system, I think it's less than 2 years or 3 years, right? The system, as the computer or laptop, should be left with the school, and if it's a public system that that individual is actually moving to, then no, some correspondence should be made, and then now the laptop will be forwarded to the teacher at that school, and the teacher can continue to use it. I think that's crap anyway. So that's a whole drama story. Coming back to the salary, this is how it ties in now. When COVID hit in 2020, March 13, teachers were expected to find their own devices, to find their own electricity, or should I say, pay for the electricity, right? Pay for internet service, right? Secure a space within their home so as to facilitate teaching and learning, right? There were no government compensation for that additional expense that the teacher actually had to endure. One might say that the teacher actually saved on transportation and all the necessary expenses that came with the whole process of going out to school. But no, that would not be fair to say that, because the teacher would have to facilitate a subject while it's at home, and at the same time the teacher also have children, and the teacher would have to ensure that his or her children, our child, is able to manipulate the system and supervise. So therefore the parent will have to supervise the child while the parent is actually facilitating. So it's a double role you're playing, right? So it's a lot of things to actually conceptualize, right? All right, so you're talking about the BST, book stationery and technology. So they gave us a laptop, and in giving us the laptop, I guess they are saying that since we give you the laptop, there's no more need for the $14,500 for BST, right? Yet we are still expected to be creative in the classroom, to you know facilitate lessons using what I call it now, differential learning techniques. That mean, if a student is slow in grasping concept, the teacher should creatively design his or her lesson so as to facilitate or incorporate that student within the lesson, or should I say within the class, so that that student will actually learn. Now that student learning may require additional printing stuff, right? Additional paper, additional activities, puzzles, a different additional instrument that will facilitate the actual teaching and learning of a particular topic. So the years gone by, I usually receive um, cartridge paper, markers, and all those nice little things that I would use to teach my class, create charts and all that for my class. As soon as they came up with this BST thing, we were told by the powers that be that since we received BST, we should not ask for these things because we have already been given that. Now the question is being asked whether or not these opportunity to collect these should I say instrument or tools that are pertinent in administrating lessons, will these now be provided by the school? Will teachers be able to get cartridge paper, pencil, and different activity sheet printed by the school as per desire of each teacher? Because I actually purchase a printer, and whenever I'm doing certain activities, I have to print the activities, and then I take it to school and get it print in bulk, right? And when the ink do finish at home, I have to now go and purchase ink outdoors. Now purchase might say, but you can actually get it printed at school. Most workplaces starts at 8 and finishes at 4. As for teachers, today is Sunday, and I am practically looking at my teachers completion of their report cards. And so while you and others might be enjoying a nice cup of coffee and sitting down at the pool, I'm laboring over schoolwork, and my schoolwork does not end at 2:20 or 2:30 or 3 o'clock, whatever school's over, right? It overs whenever the task is finished. And so during Christmas, on Christmas Day, I was actually marking papers, right? New Year's Day, I was actually marking papers because students did exam right before school closes. Yeah, during the teens, I think 18, 17, between 17, 18, and 19, somewhere there about in 2022, I was actually marking papers at home, right? So, I think more needs to be done as far as lobbying, just as how they lobby for the remote allowances. They should lobby to reinstitute the BST. Another thing is that with the new salary package, what will happen is that the government will be increasing some amount, to some extent, the amount of money that we receive. Don't get me wrong. If you usually get $150 for your salary, and with the new bond that has been created underneath the restructuring program, when they calculate your salary would end up being 120. According to the government, line of reasoning, this should not be so. So what will happen is that you will still receive the same amount of monies that you would get, the 150, plus you would get a 20% increase for 3 years on the net in which you would receive. So that means after you have actually taken away the taxes, so let's say that you earn 130, right? And that's a net profit, that's a net pay, right? And when the new salary system comes in, it says that you would fall within the band of getting 120. They will still pay you the 130, right? Plus they will give you 20% of the the net that you receive, right, after all the tax deduction, and that will be for 3 years. Um, that will be for 3 years. Now, underneath that arrangement, it seems good, right? So that sounds interesting, right? For the past 1.5 year, inflation rate has been roughly hovering between 9.5 to 10%. Right? Last year we received a four. That's government sector workers. They received a 4% increase in salary for 1 year, and the arrangement was that this was because of the massive restructuring that the government is actually undertaking. Thus, they needed some amount of time to put things together so as to you know prepare a good remuneration package for all persons working within the public sector. Okay, and that was 4%. However, the inflation rate for the last negotiation period was roughly 11%, between 10 and 11%, right? So there was a deficit of nearly about 7%, right, guys? So again, they said that they're gonna give us 20% on the net, and 20% on the net minus the inflation. That means minus putting you back where you were before things start get you'd actually have to take about 10% out of that 20%. And based on how the world economy is going on, this trajectory is intended to last roughly about 2 to 3 years. Thus, not necessarily 20% that you'll be getting on your net, but roughly you'll just see an average of about 10% increase because of the inflationary inflationary space that exists right there. So um why some persons might smile and say, hey, 20% of 150, hey, that is roughly $30 more, or $30,000 more. But look at what you normally pay for, let's say, a pound of sugar. A pound of sugar for was roughly about I'm not sure, I'm just giving an example here. In Jamaica, a pound of sugar was roughly about $100 or $120, right? Last year at this time in February, a pound of sugar this time now have actually risen to nearly $200. So therefore, things are actually going up, and things are actually going up. That means the spending power it has actually cut. Right? It's difficult to say that you are a teacher and you're working with government and you're actually living on a livable wage, right? The livable wage that you're actually receiving right now is like uh retro. It's like in retrospective of like probably 2020, right? So a livable wage right now for teachers is a wage that teachers are able to pay their expenses, respectable, pay their expenses, right? And you know take care of the family, and at the same time being able to facilitate teaching and learning without any additional stress. A lot of teachers are actually suffering mental depression, mental stress. Anytime when government sector workers are about to receive salary increase in Jamaica, there are several financial institutions, and that takes the opportunity to invite persons to take out loan, whether it's to build a house or to buy a car or to deal with some issues. Because as soon as you get it, they want you to spend it with them, right? Life does have its ups and downs, right? And some teachers have no option but to go to the quick cash option, and they will go to those places that offer high interest rates, and but you get the cash within less than 2 days. When you go to a well-oiled, organized financial institution, there are a lot of things that are being demanded of them before they actually get the monies, right? And a lot of persons are not cognizant of the possibility of them actually losing everything, although they're actually going for money so as to improve their lives, right? And they are not financially, I call it now, prudent, right? They are not. It's not like when you go to college, you get this like a course called economics. I get this course called money management, right? And that's something else where I think teachers college should actually do, other than just preparing the individual to facilitate um, lessons, improve the minds of the young ones. Teachers college should also offer programs which would actually help the facilitators to better manage time and their financial resources, right? uh, how your money management, how you make a budget, how you create a budget. You're just going to teach what you do, what you don't do, right? A lot of young people, not necessarily teachers, as soon as they start work, they take out a car, right? And that's just it. That's just what they want: car and rent. They rent a premises, having no desire to actually own somewhere. And then when they're in their later years, they find it difficult to actually acquire somewhere permanently to reside, because one, the amount of monies for monthly mortgage is at the deep end because of their age, or two, the amount of monies they're receiving for the remuneration is not sufficient to maintain both themselves along with family. There are a lot of things that are happening these days, and I'm just going to tie it up into this one podcast. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing any more, so I'm going to move on to a different. I noticed there's a trend in Jamaica as far as teaching and teachers and students, and the blame is being dusted at the feet of the stakeholders, including the government, right? In addition to the whole salary situation, there's a situation where in which the teacher is always blamed for anything that occurs within the classroom or within the space of the institution. If two students fight, at the end of the day, once they're on the compound, you hear that the teachers should be there to part them. I've actually parted fights at school already, and I've actually received a hit in the face, and there was nothing to that. Only thing I received was a sorry from the parent and the child, right? Yet still, when a child is fighting and there's no one there to part them, they say that the teacher is not responsible enough to take on the task to part the fight. Now, I am going to think twice if I am seeing a fight occurring in front of me and I see knife or weapons drawn, because I have a family to go home to take care of, and if I am hit or stabbed by that student in their rage to defend themselves, if I'm stabbed, the only thing I'm going to hear, I don't even hear because probably I'm dead, is that he was a good teacher and he tried his best to, you know, manage situations. I don't think that is enough on the part of stakeholders in how they sound the trumpet as far as how situations are managed at schools. A lot of responsibilities are thrusted on the teachers, yet still none is actually thrusted on the student themselves. I was at school the other day and a student actually hid the knife within her book and carried it to the classroom with the intention to stab another student. It was thwarted as a student actually shared it with the security, and the security searched the student and found the knife. Now, if that student had stabbed the other student and it reached the media, I can bet you that the soundings of the stakeholders would be: where was the teacher? How the student was not searched? Why is it that this was allowed to take place? Right? But the next question I would ask would: where is the parent? Why is it that the parent never actually um, talk to the child as normally you would? You have a child, you must can tell whether or not your child, something is wrong with that child, to discuss what is wrong with the child and as best as possible seek amicable solution for whatever is occurring within the space. Yeah, you can actually look at your child and you can tell when your child is, in a space where in which you don't want that child to be, right? I've been in a situation where in which teacher is teaching, and you know when students are misbehaving and brought to me, and I am about to deal with it, it is being felt that this child is poor. This child is going through some struggles at home, and this child is, everything is about the child. But let it be the teacher. You'd hear that the teacher is wicked, that the teacher should not be in a school, that the teacher should lose his or her job. And mind you, the Ministry of Education in Jamaica would practically send out a correspondence to the school that the teacher should be suspended until the investigation. I've seen more teachers suspended than students for a situation that I think it warrants further investigation. I've seen students committed acts today and return to school tomorrow, and when actually, consulting what has actually transpired, you're hearing that it's a situation at home, and the counselors, these are the counselors that are, it is recommended that the child is best the child stay at home, sorry, child stay at school, and the situation is worked out outside the home rather than to send home the child. Now, I've seen where cases where a teacher actually run down a student. Yes, the teacher was kind of out of it by saying that I have actually murdered somebody already, me murder you. But the first thing that came out of a board meeting, or should I say, came from the ministry, was that that teacher was suspended, right? So the teacher is suspended. Nevertheless, the student was provoking the teacher, right? And the teacher is actually being reprimanded for something that the student did. And what was said is that the student will be counseled, because the student is traumatized with the teacher actually running him down in the classroom or outside of the classroom. So everything is about the student and nothing about the teacher. I pity the system and I pity the stakeholders as they seek to make it a situation wherein which we teach at any cost, regardless of the circumstances, and we are held to ransom by the stakeholders that if we do not do what they say, we will lose our job. But at the same time, the very same stakeholders who seek to determine who remains and who stays within the classroom are the very stakeholders who, when it comes on to salary negotiation, are mum. I have not heard any parent teachers association come out in support of teachers actually taking a stand regarding the salary. Yes, it's a private situation where it's between the government and the teachers, but a word could be said from the Jamaica Teachers Association, for the Jamaica Teachers Association, by the Jamaica Parents Association, the body that actually include all the parents, well, should include all the parents of students within Jamaica, Jamaicans public school, right? um Frankly put, me not hear nobody come out and say nothing, right? Them not say, because it is in the public sphere, and I've seen where in it they have done something with regards to police the last time, and they had this survey, and they were saying that, do you think police deserve such and such and such, and persons were saying, yeah, yeah man, police deserve better and whatever. There's no such thing for teachers. It's as if we are scapegoat for everything else. But time will tell. A lot of nurses actually took the monies in December, and they are now gathering themselves to leave to go to England and North America for better remuneration packages. I guess the 20 teachers who actually, the 20 delegates who actually opted to agree with the settlement wanted to do just the same. But look at it. you had 565 delegates or something like that who actually rejected the salary package that was proposed by the Ministry of Finance and Planning, right? So I guess you have more teachers that are willing to, wait the long haul for a better salary package and better treatment by the government, and practically they represent the majority of the teachers who intend to actually stay in Jamaica. So if you want to put it in perspective, roughly 20% out of, less than 20%, a matter of fact, it's about nearly 8 or 9% of teachers, if given the opportunity, they will leave because of opportunities. Some are still opting to leave this September. Right now in my school, a English teacher came the Friday, and the Monday she came to school and handed in her resignation. Another teacher came the Monday, and by the Tuesday she left. It's a rough task out there actually facilitating teaching and learning. And until the stakeholders understand the turmoil that is within the education sector and the lack of trust that exists between stakeholders and the teachers themselves. When I say stakeholders, I mean parents, I mean government, I mean the different institutions that are out there, the I call it now, the persons who are actually watching to see when the teachers slip up, what's to do. Yeah, 'cause you have people like that, right? Those persons who are advocating that there's nothing wrong with the pants, there's nothing wrong with the length of the skirt, there's nothing wrong with the hair, there's nothing wrong with the earring, there's nothing wrong with the nose ring, there's nothing wrong with the tattoo, there's nothing wrong with the with with different things that occur within the space. It just should just teach and that's it. Well, tell the truth, it seems as if it's time for me to actually leave the system and allow you who are advocating for more freedom within the space of education, within the space of educational institution, take charge and to actually feel how it feels to be a facilitator within a system where which you are not regarded. Thank you very much for stopping by, guys. I know that this was a long one, but I just had to get out everything that I had. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more podcasts for now, but for now, guys, peace out. Catch you next time. Bye bye.